Hey, and welcome to video number 3, understanding the way you process data. Have you ever wondered why certain people just don't get it? You've got a coworker, employee, employer, a family member, a friend. They just don't get it. You can hang out with them at a certain time period, but after a while, you realize that they just don't get it. They're starting to annoy you, aggravate you, and so forth. And certain people on the flip side think that you just don't get it. Well, the reality of all of this is that we all think differently, and that's the beauty, but it can also be difficult. This is all because everybody thinks different in different situations. We're going to figure out for you how you process data, how you take in the information in, how you process it, how do you come to that decision? How do you make that decision? And how do you implement that decision? So if you understand all of these different parts and how they come together, then you're going to be able to make decisions, more realistic goals and decisions, and implement those decisions at a more faster and efficient rate. So let's dig deeper and help you understand the different letters that you just received in the previous video so that you can understand yourself better. Intaking data would be the first letter, which is either introversion, the inner world, or the extroversion, the outer world. And I'm going to go in more depth in the future slides. The second letter is either S or N. S standing for sensing, which is someone who basically gathers lots of facts, lots of details. Now, some of you are thinking, okay, that sounds like me. I like to, when I make decisions or come to that decision, I want to make sure I've gathered all the statistics, all the facts, all the hard data before I make the decision. On the flip side, we have N, or intuition. Intuitive people who make gut decisions. Now, that doesn't say that intuitive people don't use statistics. Many do. But sensing tends to analyze, analyzing, could go into analyze paralysis, where you've analyzed a situation way too much. It's time to do something, but you're still analyzing the situation. So that could be sensing, and those tend to be creative type people. Intuitive people can be creative as well, but they see an overall big picture and they tend to get gut decisions. So, sensing people could look at intuitive people and think, okay, these people are flaky. And then intuitive people could look at S people and think, wow, these people they're still thinking and we're all the way ahead of them, So there's always upsides and downsides to both of them. There's no right or wrong answer. The third letter is F or T. F stands for feeling. T stands for thinker and thinking. F looks at different perspectives in people before they make their decisions. Thinker doesn't really look at people's feelings or anything like that. They look at logic. They say black and white. Okay, if this happens, then this has got to happen. Now the feeler thinks, okay, if this happens, then it might offend so-and-so. Or if this happens, it might mess up so-and-so's life or something. Or the way they do things. So F tends to look at the feeling. And the upside is they look at perspectives. They look at people. But at the same time, if they make decisions, they could also flip-flop because they make a decision. And if that's who you are, you're just going to need to be aware of how you take action and make decisions. J and P are the last letter, judging or perceiving. Judging tends to like rules and regulations and routines, and perceiving tends to be spontaneous and impulsive. So let's go a little more in depth about extroversion E and introversion I. E gets energy from being around people, needs to talk to other people to figure out solutions. Motivated by people, needs alone time sometimes, but gets drained if not around people enough. So if you're an E and you're making a decision, a realistic goal, and trying to focus, then you're motivated by being around people. And that's the truth. And on the I, gets energy from being alone, needs to think things through alone, motivated by their inner world, and people drain them. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't love people. Introverts, they love people, but being around people too long can drain them. So if you're an E or an I, whenever you're trying to discover that goal or trying to figure out, okay, what should I make? Should I make this decision or should I make that decision? Now, there's good sides and bad sides to both. On the E side, you want to be around people to help you make decisions. But at the same time, a downside is you don't want to become too dependent on these people that you become accountable. Like these people become your accountability. But then if you're not self-accountable to yourself, then when these people leave, then there goes your, consistent and persistence towards that, making that decision and goal happen. On the flip side, if you're introversion I, you get energy by being alone, but not all the ideas are going to come, from you, which a lot of ideas you can find out from other people. You might get other ideas simply by talking to other people. So there are good sides and there's downsides to both. It's just to figure out which one are you and how you can go about that. So this is where you get your motivation and your energy. You're going to need that consistent movement and energy and motivation. And then once you get to that point, how do you process data? How do you take data in? So I talked about this earlier, intuitive. You're able to see the big picture, see abstract ideas, theory, long-term, and so forth. And then brainstorms a lot. Tends to have sudden, strong judgments, gut feelings, and so forth. And on the flip side, you got sensing, usually very traditional, trusts the establishment, rules and regulations, and so forth. Gathers lots of facts, details, and data about people or subject matters, and then makes calculated judgments. So that's just how you process data. And then once you process that data, how do you make that decision? Well, you can either feel it out or think logically. So feelers, they see different perspectives before making decisions, consider other feelings when making decisions. They're compassionate about people and they love people. But they're very emotional. They can be emotionally manipulative, so that could be a downside. If they want to get their way, they can use emotion and so forth. Thinking, T, uses logic to make choices. They often see black and white, not much gray area, which could be a downside as well. And as you notice, I'm not really picking on one. I'm just pinpointing both and showing you downsides to both. So thinking, if you're in a situation where you're dealing with people, you might want to consider or try to consider other people's feelings and so forth. So very rational thinking. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you got perceiving P and judging J. P tends to be spontaneous, go with the flow and flexible, enjoys surprises and changing plans. J enjoys routines, to-do lists, scheduled, organized, and structured. Now, you could be either or. Now, like, for example, you could be a person that enjoys routine, but you also probably enjoy spontaneous times, go with the flow times, and so forth. Like, you could be judging in your business life and be somewhat judging and a little bit perceiving in your personal life. But this is all the question of where are you most of the time, either P or J. Because this could really impact the way you focus and are distracted and so forth. All right, so by now you should have a better view of which letters that you fall under and how they can impact you taking in information, making decisions, taking action, and so forth. Now let's take it one step further and look into the habits and possible weaknesses that you have so that we can get past those roadblocks.